Hello, everybody, and welcome to Let's Get Creative. I'm Heidi, and I'm looking forward to talking with you about today's lesson, shape. And we're going to be doing really fun shape drawings using objects from around our house. So, what you're going to need to do this project is a white piece of paper, a marker. If you don't have a marker, you can use a pencil, and 5 objects or things that you find around your house. So I'm going to show you some examples of mine, and we're going to talk a little bit about what shape is and how these objects or these things can create really interesting shapes when we trace them. So I found in my house a roll of tape, a cute little bowl, a Lego platform that's a square, a water cup, which makes a circle, the bottom makes a circle, stone, a chopstick, a tongue depressor or a popsicle stick, and a pair of scissors. So can you believe it? We're going to use these shapes that are made by these objects to create really interesting drawings. So how are we going to do that, you think? We're going to be tracing each one of these. And when we trace each one of these, they make really interesting shapes. So before we get started, I want to talk with you about shape. So maybe some of you may or may not know, but a shape is an essential element of art. We've talked in the past about line being an essential element of art, but shape is one of those as well. So how do we make shapes? So a shape is when lines connect. So I'm going to do a very simple shape using line. Here's a straight line, another straight line, another straight line, and another straight line. 4 straight lines that come together make a what? Yeah, you got that. A square or a rectangle. So can you think of any other shapes that you know? Circle, oval, stars are even shapes, hearts, triangle. So when you're looking at your household objects, I want you to think about what kind of shapes they would make if you trace them. So I traced some objects that I found and I showed you earlier, and I'm going to show you which ones they are. So you see this little bowl? If I turn it upside down and place it on the paper and trace it, so tracing going around the edge with a marker, I get this small circle shape. And what do you think, what kind of shape did this make? Yeah, the roll of tape. Look at that. So it has both an inner circle and an outer circle. So I traced with my marker all around the outside of this, and then I traced on the inside as well. And I got 2 circle shapes. Now what about this square here? Remember I showed you that Lego piece? I put it down on my paper and trace with my marker all the way around its 4 edges, and look what I got. All right, so do you have your household objects? You're going to need at least 5 to start with. So again, objects that I collected around the house are a pair of scissors, a little bowl, a water cup, a Lego square, a lid from a Tupperware, a plastic box, a measuring spoon, a popsicle stick or tongue depressor, even a rock, a metal tin that creates a nice rectangular shape. What did you collect? All right, everybody, now that you have your objects to trace, we can get started. So we're going to need, again, remember, is your white piece of paper and a marker. And you're going to choose one of your objects first to start with. I'm going to choose my roll of tape. How about you? All right, I'm going to walk you through how to make one of these really cool drawings just by tracing our objects. Are you ready? Give me a thumbs up if you are. All right, let's get started. All right, so I chose my roll of tape as the first thing I'm going to start with. And what we're going to do is we're going to trace with our marker. So tracing is when you take something like a pencil or a marker and you trace around an object. Go all the way around, right? You try to stay as close to the edge of your object as possible. I'm going to show you how to do that. So, hold down firmly on your object so it doesn't slip while you're tracing it, and start. And you see how my marker is going up against that edge? It's actually going at kind of an angle. Do you see that? And since I can't reach all the way around my arm, I'm going to stop, and then I can start again and continue till I meet where I first started drawing. You see, you get a circle. But I really like that inner circle, so I'm going to keep my object pressed onto my paper, and I'm going to trace now the inside of my tape. Pressing down on the object as I'm tracing so it doesn't slip. You see that? Already we have the beginning of a very interesting drawing, right? Okay, next you're going to decide on your second object to trace. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my small little bowl, I'm going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to place it down below here. Again, hold on to your object, press down while you trace. And take your time. Again, not everybody has the same experience with tracing. Just take your time and slowly go around your object. Look, you got another circle. Next, I'm going to take my rectangular metal tin. I'm going to place it just like so, kind of in between or on top, a little bit on top and in between of the 2 circle drawings I made with my shapes. And again, pressing down on the object and tracing as closely as possible around my rectangular tin. Look what I got. All right. going to choose another object from my collection. I'm going to choose these pair of scissors. Now this is, I think, is going to make a really interesting shape. I'm going to place it flat on top of my paper. I'm going to hold down like I did with the other ones, and I'm going to find a place to start. And I'm going to slowly trace. I slowed down as I was making that turn. See how I'm tracing very slowly around the handles and until I close that line. And then these two shapes I think are going to be really interesting. So I'm going to go inside the scissor handles. Still holding onto my pair of scissors, pressing it on to the paper so it doesn't slip. And look what I got. Another interesting shape. So I've used 1, 2, 3, 4 objects to trace. I'm going to choose a final one. And you know what I think I'm going to do? Is I'm going to use my tongue depressor. And I think I'm going to lay it like that. And I'm going to trace it. Sorry, I'm going to trace it. Sometimes that happens. Holding down firmly. And tracing. And look what I got. Isn't it cool how you can use just basic, simple materials and create interesting pieces of artwork? So what do you think you could do with this drawing? I have a challenge for you. I have a challenge for you to think about color. Now, if you don't want any color, that's fine, but this is a challenge I'm offering to you. The challenge is, if you can find different areas, you see how all of these shapes, even though we trace them and they are their own shapes, when we put them on top of others, they created new shapes. So like this little area right here, where the scissors and the metal tin box came together, it creates its own shape. So I want you to find the new shapes that were created and use a color pencil or crayon or marker and fill that in with color. And then I want you to find another area you can color in that makes an interesting new shape. So you see where the tongue depressor and the circle of the tape created a new shape. It's almost triangular, not quite. I'm going to fill that in with my color pencils. And then I want you to find a third new shape that you created. See how the little metal bowl, when I trace the shape of the metal tin and they came together, look, there's this interesting new shape here. See the metal tin and then the circle of the bowl. I'm going to color that in. What other new shapes can you find on my drawing? Fill this all the way in. Using color pencils, but you can use crayons or markers. That's your choice. Now, if you want to completely color this entire piece of artwork, you could. If you do that, I would challenge you to think about different colors next to different colors so that you can see all of the shapes really clearly. I'm going to show you some examples of how I colored in this drawing, thinking about color next to each other. All right. What about if you only had shapes that made circles? You can do a really simple drawing with just using circle shapes. Let me show you. So I'm going to take a roll of tape and trace around the outside. And then trace on the inside circle. And then overlap this with the shapes I just drew. Trace that inner circle and the outer circle. And I'm going to take my little bowl shape, flip it upside down, and put it in the center of one of those circles, other circles. And trace slowly around that object, the bowl, and you get yourself another circle. And you can continue this on and on until your entire paper is filled with really interesting circle designs. And you'll notice that it's really interesting when we put one object trace here and then not keep it separate, but overlap it a little bit. It makes it into a more complex drawing that creates more interesting, even more interesting shapes within the shapes. You see? This area, that's a new shape. This area, that's a new shape. And here's another example that I drew using my objects and tracing them carefully and overlapping them. There's a circle here, shape of a scissors, square, another circle, my tape, and that metal tin shape. And what I decided to do is just choose 3 colors, primary colors, and choose 3 areas to fill in the new shapes that I created. So there's red here, yellow here, and blue here. It's simple yet complex and still interesting, right? Just even with these 3 colors that I added. And here's another example using markers. And here's the example of the drawing I showed you when we first started. You see how I looked at each shape that I drew and I filled in colors. But you see, no same color is next to each other, so it makes it really interesting, right? But you can still see those bigger shapes that I first drew, right? And then all of these other shapes that happened when I laid the objects over the previous objects drawing. Look at all these interesting shapes that came out. And I really wanted to show those, so I decided to add different colors to bring those shapes out. What do you think you're going to do? So what did you think about that? I cannot wait to see what you come up with your own objects at home, your imaginations, and simple drawing tools. So please share with me either in the comments below or by Instagram at hashtag Purple Museum Creations or hashtag Virtual Purple Museum. I hope you enjoyed yourself today, and I cannot wait to see what you created. Seriously, please share. And until we see each other again, happy making. All right, everybody, take care. Bye. Bye.
Thank you for watching our virtual Purple Museums broadcast. If you're enjoying this content, please consider making a donation to support our efforts. Our broadcasts are every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Stay in the loop by joining our email list by visiting www.cdm.org. Sign up today.